Shwmai, croeso, hello and welcome to episode 78 of the Bluebirds Nest. No first team fixture this weekend due to the Nathaniel MG League Cup final on Friday night. So an ideal time to shine the spotlight on the development squad here at Haverfordwest County. With the team very much enjoying yet another successful season, they travel up to Park Avenue in Aberystwyth this weekend. A neutral ground will play host of the FAW Youth Cup semi-final where the boys face Newtown. So a great opportunity for me to pass an invite to this week's guest, the man leading the development squad this season, Mr. Ceri Phillips. Good to have you on, Ker.
Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, Ray. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a big few days coming up for you on the team. I'm excited to get to that, but let's go down a bit of a path then. We first crossed paths probably over a decade ago now when you and Steve Batty were obviously leading the development squad back then. I don't think you'd not long stopped playing yourself and started on your coaching qualifications. Plenty of opportunities since then. We'll come on to that as well. But you're back with the development squad again this season. Way back when then, what was it that got it, you first into coaching and things?
A couple of things, really. Like kind of once I hit about 14, 15, sort of realised that definitely kind of wasn't going to be a footballer of any kind. So like,
you and me both.
Yeah, so just kind of love the game at the time. So obviously just other ways you can get into it. And my dad kind of coached me and my grassroots team growing up. So it's never easy being the coach's son, but some part of me must have enjoyed it. And yeah, I think I did my football leaders award 15, 16, just to help then coach my brother's team because they were looking for a coach. So me and my dad did that together, and then just thought I could try and pursue this, and then went to university, sports coaching and performance degree and stuff. And then kind of just once I finished university, then just kind of, just looked to try and get into a career in sports and football coaching really. And kind of that's where I've kind of been since the last couple of 11, 12 years really, since graduating in 2013.
Fantastic. Am I right in saying you were a spell coaching in the US back in the day as well?
Yeah, so when I finished university, I was in University Glasgow, it was at the time, it's USW now. And just thinking how I was going to spend my summer, or didn't really have anything to go into moving back home. So I went abroad to coach in America. Spent about 3-4 months in South Carolina coaching, sort of all along the South Carolina coast, and doing football camps and coaching clinics and stuff like that. And it was unbelievable. Obviously a good summer. Lots of downtime, great hospitality from people, unbelievable welcome. But it really got me out of my comfort zone. Learned so much. Kind of had to find find your feet and driving across America and stuff like that. To camps every Sunday. It was some experience, but I made some good friends to be fair as well. Just still keep in touch with now. It was a real unbelievable kind of experience.
Definitely brilliant. That sounds class, especially the weather side of it.
Yeah.
Isn't that this week? You obviously had a game on Tuesday night, another high-scoring game in the development. 5-2 winners at home versus Llanelli Town. However, for a normal week, and perhaps this is a little bit different this week, of course, but your games tend to be on a Sunday, home and away, right across South Wales. What does a normal week look like then? How many times are you together with the squad?
Yeah, so we train twice a week. So train Tuesday, Thursday, and kind of very similar to the first team, really. Obviously, their schedule depends with their Friday night fixtures and what have you. But yeah, we train twice a week. So, the lads get a bit of recovery on the Monday. So Tuesday is usually a bit of a lighter session. And then Thursday is kind of the session. Then we're a bit more tactical, ready for the Sunday, but we can still load the players physically as well, because obviously they've had a bit of a break. So we kind of do it, I imagine, a little bit opposite to the first team, because we don't get that extra day's break after a game. So Tuesday, like I said, is a bit lighter. Thursday, then we push hard. It's been good. We've had a good sort of season so far, and I think everyone in the academy has kind of been able to adapt and manage, obviously, with the transition of not being able to train down the meadow and kind of working out of Haverfordwest High and stuff. But I think the academy managed it well, and then obviously since sort of the turn of the new year, then just to get back down the meadow and train there, it's just been outstanding. I told the players, we had a bit of a review around Christmas time and said, to be doing as well as we've done and not really having a base to work out of and stuff, we were so excited to go back, but obviously we still had loads to play for as well. So it was, although we might have lost, a game or two before Christmas, we were in such a good place then, and just to go back down the club then and be able to do analysis more often, and work. Then the boys can sort of train a bit closer with the first team now as well. So it's been a good season so far. But now we get back down the club and the opportunities now with the pitches. It's a really, really exciting kind of second part of the season for us.
Yeah, I want to dive into your thoughts and feelings on the transition the club's gone in the last few weeks and months, but also the decade or so that we've both been at the club. But we've skipped over a large chunk of your achievements in football and sort of your time that was with Swansea City. Like I said, it must be probably 2013, I think, when I first started, when I first met you and saw you were with the Swans back then as a coach. And I think you were sort of regional coordinator and overseeing things in the West. Before you had the opportunity to work alongside John Beale initially as a coach of Swansea City women's team. Before then, having the opportunity in the hot seat, taking the top job with the women's team. I've had lots of conversations recently. Mikey came on and spoke about our own girls and women's football and looking to see, and we can see not only with us but right across Wales that's growing. At the time, he was probably on a trajectory that was leading to it is now. When you were working with the Swans back then, your first few games, I think I'm right in saying, were in the Champions League as well. That must have been a crazy experience. What was all that like then?
It was an absolute whirlwind of a summer because, like you said, I kind of went into like sort of first time I really got into the female game. So that was kind of exciting for me to try and go down that avenue and see what that part of football was like. But also to work under John as well because John's got a good pedigree and I know he's a good coach. I was looking forward to working with him, and I've always been sarcastically thankful to John for kind of stepping down 10 days before the Champions League to focus on his own commitments. And then being asked to take over as head coach 10 days before flying out to Greece for the Champions League qualifiers. So it definitely wasn't something I asked for at all, but just had to kind of just take the opportunity really. And like I said, just, find my feet really and think on my feet as well. So that was an unbelievable experience, and 7 days out in Greece, and the women's kind of format for the Champions League is a bit different. So you play like a round robin. It's almost like you play like a semi-final against a team. If you win that, you go through to the final. So you're in like a group of 4 teams, but you don't play everyone. It's just straight to a semi and a final. We all the teams in our group were professional clubs. So we played PAOK out in Greece, who hosted it. We lost 2-0 to them in the first semi-finals. Then we had a 3rd and 4th place playoff then against Ferencváros from Hungary, who were just full of the Hungarian women's national team. Wow. But quite thankful really that they lost in a semi because we would have played Glasgow Rangers otherwise. I think they put 5 or 6 past Ferencváros. So but no, unbelievable. It was the closest I probably had to being like full-time, like a full-time coach or what have you, and because just that whole week was planning kind of what you're going to do, sort of match day -2, downtime for players, recovery, analysis, team meetings and stuff. So it was just a relentless week and analysing then obviously the next opposition we were going to get because you didn't know until we played the game. So it was just a relentless week, but I really, really enjoyed it. And like I said, I wasn't there very long and I wasn't part of the team that got to that point. It only came in the summer, but to this day, probably one of my most enjoyable and best experiences I've had so far.
Superb. Fair play. That sounds amazing. Like, how did the Swans get there then? So had they won what is now the Adran Premier then? Is that what qualified them?
Yeah, exactly. So whichever team kind of wins the women's Adran Premier qualifies for that. So represent Wales in Europe really. So I know that Swans women have done it numerous times kind of prior to me being involved, and played the likes of CSKA Moscow. I know a few of the players used to tell us about when CSKA Moscow Ultras turned up or something like that, and I think they did it in COVID times as well. They went out there to play in the Champions League qualifiers. So, chartered flight and, socially distanced and stuff. So they've done it a few times before. So there's experience in the squad. I kind of had to pull on a few people players to try and help me with that as well. But like I said, unbelievable. Definitely
unbelievable experience that. And like I spoke with Mikey a couple of weeks ago, and it's certainly the vision of the club to get to the stage where we're competing in the Adran Premier. So who knows? Maybe one day the club Haverfordwest could be in Europe competing in that similar format. But back to the Bluebirds then, after that experience, you came back and you probably saw, the transformation over the last 4 or 5 years now, been a major strides, both on and off the pitch. We mentioned the pitch there in the short term. What do you think, has been key to all that progress? And what have your thoughts on it? Because it's a different club now, just over a decade on.
Yeah, it's totally different. I've kind of, obviously during my time away, always kept an eye on things and trying to still speak to people in the club, and even like the kind of the caliber, the managers, the first team have had in recent years. It's always been interesting to see. And then, just the growth of of staff and stuff like that within the club now. You've got some really good people, working around the place, and maybe people behind the scenes, or outside the club, might not see that. Obviously, we always used to have a band of volunteers and kind of the old board that would work the socks off. But these people are doing exactly the same now and working just as hard to move the club on, move it forwards.
Yeah.
And like I said, the pitch. When I was playing football in the Premier League, you'd always want to play on the Bridge Meadow. It was an unbelievable grass pitch, but I think everybody knew deep down that the best thing for sort of any football club kind of aspiring in the country is, for mass participation, and your girls' side and part of the club is, you can only get one game a day or one game a weekend on the grass pitch. And I think in terms of, making your football club in any part of the country a hub of the community, whatever you want to call it, it's important. When we used to go and play the likes of Barry Town, one of the first teams to put a 3G on Jenner Park, and there'd be like an over 40s game coming on after us, or there'd be kids playing before. It was just the amount of games of football that we played and the turnover of people coming through the gates. So it was, I totally get, the people who are behind grass pitches, because there's the beauty of it at times. But if you're going to move forward in the modern way, I think it's just massive for football clubs, and I imagine a lot of work has gone into it, but it's almost like a totally different ground down there now. It just looks, like a proper ground, and quite a modern one in that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I've thoroughly enjoyed turning up on a match day, and there's, the pitch is rammed, the car park is full. There's people on there playing, whether it's the juniors, the academy, the women's, the girls. It's just a hub of activity at the moment, and it's really nice to see. You and I and everybody loved the grass pitch. Everybody in Pembrokeshire was aware of the carpet that the meadow offered back then. But yeah, for the vision to come alive even more so, I think that transformation had to happen, and we're reaping the benefits now. You mentioned there you've been playing away games a lot this season. You've been training on other pitches elsewhere. So now being able to train twice a week, over a decade ago, probably once a week at best, probably, trying to find a slot on the pitch for the development. So the fact that you guys can train on where you're playing, it makes a big, big difference. And long way to continue. A big, exciting couple of years ahead. I want to come on to the players and things like that now. And so we've obviously spoken to Tony Pennock, Steve Batty's come on in the past, and a couple of other coaches about how integral the club's youth development, the pathway has been over the years. I think looking back over the last few years, been sort of a golden generation, I want to say, that have come through the development, done well, and have ended up as sort of, I suppose, regulars, within the first team. I won't name them all in case I miss somebody, but there's a good group that are in the first team week in, week out, who've come through. One I will mention, previous captain Lucas Davis, no doubt would have been involved in the first team himself had he still been in the country, but he took an opportunity to go over to the States. They've recently won an indoor championship. I spoke with Lucas's dad, and he mentioned that they've won the indoor championship. So congratulations to him. But yeah, back to the development, and yet again this season, seen another year of boys having their opportunities to be in the first team matchday squads. The couple who are there week in, week out, but a number of those who featured, made their first appearance in a matchday squad as well. What impact does that have? If they're with the first on the Saturday or the Friday night, on a Sunday, then their teammate is, are they almost asking them questions, trying to sort of see what the experience was like, or is there a bit of banter around it? What's that reaction like?
Yeah, a bit of both, really. I think where it becomes more obvious sort of when they come back in to train with us, because obviously then those lads who just come out of training with the first team or regularly train the first team, but then still train with us, used to like the first team's intensity. So then we ask them and insist, you know, when they come back down to us, then as they bring it back in to ours, and because it's only going to set them in good stead, but also shows the other players then who maybe haven't been around the first team, you know, what is needed or what's required then to step up to train with, you know, with Pens and Waggy's boys. Like, so yeah, the intensity and things like that is massive. But yeah, there is a lot of talent in the development team over the last kind of couple of seasons, really. And I think, yeah, it's so fantastic, the pathway. There's always been a decent pathway, you know, even when I was at the club previously, and, you know, kind of with Steve's kind of tutelage of the academy, there's always, you know, always get one or two through. But yeah, I think over the last few years, obviously, I know Pens was kind of depleted with injuries at times, but then like boys have just been able to step up, and it's just been fantastic. And, you know, even when you're trying to maybe recruit a few players because they might have some options elsewhere, or they might come from some of the stronger Premiership League teams, because, you know, there is some, you know, the standard is, you know, quite good, and if the groups come from these clubs, they kind of want to, you know, stay there and play. But, you know, we don't really have to put anything in front of them, because the pathway is just so clear for all to see, and kind of how Pembrokeshire players do get valued by not only the club but also, you know, Pens as the manager now. So, you know, it's really not even that hard of a sell, because the proof is in the pudding. It's almost there for you. So yeah, that, you know, that really helps from recruitment side of things as well.
Definitely. You say pathway there. I think for me, one of the ones who stands out this year is your keeper, Corey Mathias. He featured in the squad against Penabont, the live Scorio game, reserve keeper. You know, he could have potentially been called upon to come on and make his debut. He was playing for Penna in the, you know, the Pembrokeshire League not so long ago, taking the opportunity to come into the development squad as well, whether that was a recruitment with you guys or whatever. So testament for that. But, you know, he's gone from playing Pembrokeshire League football to potentially Cymru Premier with it inside a season. And it's not just Corey as well. You know, there's others. Luke Owen was with us back in the first team squad last weekend. Owain Davis made an appearance, you know, earlier in the season as well. Seth Woodhouse has obviously taken an opportunity with Haverford. I think he's taken it with both hands as well, from what I'm hearing. He's doing really well. And no doubt others as well will have their opportunities, you know, if they keep progressing. However, there is one of your regulars who is making his mark, Mr. Daniel John. He's scoring a ridiculous amount of goals for you. He's certainly impressing when he's in training with the first team. Ben Armand spoke to me a couple of weeks ago and said how, you know, he's learning off the guys who perhaps have been around the Cymru Premier circuit a long time. I had a front row seat at his opportunity against Cardiff Met on Friday night. He nearly scored. And I'd spoken to him at half-time. I said, I got a feeling tonight's the night. So I'd have been over the moon for him had he found... Well, he's already scored for the first team last season, but opened his account for this season. You must be so happy with his performances for you this year. Yeah,
he's such a threat in our league, you know, and kind of everybody speaks about kind of the rate of his development in the last 18 months, you know, has been, you know, it's been great, you know, and your Pens has said as much, but also, like he said about obviously first team players, obviously trains really closely with them, is around the first team squad, you know, regularly. But when, you know, bumped into Dylan Reese the other day, and he said about just how much Dan's improved and stuff, and it's, you know, so he's getting noticed kind of by, you know, his peers as well, which is obviously massive. But no, you know, he's a focal point for us this season, there's no doubt about that. You know, we've scored about 30 goals to date. And, you know, one thing that goes under the radar a bit is the number of assists he's getting as well. So I think he's top of the league for us at the minute with assists and stuff, which is great. So yeah, we're just, you know, for me, it's just trying to keep him level-headed where I can, really, or keep him grounded. It's easier said than done. But yeah, he's working on parts of his game and is just trying to make him a bit more rounded footballer now, which, you know, the likes of, you know, with Pens and Waggy will obviously guide him with that. And if we can help him in any way, the development, and, you know, he's improved, but I think like it's just his decision making now, I think, is obviously, you step up the first team level, the quality of players you come up against, you know, if you make the wrong decisions, you're going to get punished. So yeah, but again, sometimes I forget how young these boys are and how much so developing and learning they've still got to do. But no, he's had a great year for us so far, and yeah, fingers crossed it'll take us into the couple of cup games now, hopefully, and the rest of the league season as well.
Yeah, definitely. You say about keeping his feet on the floor. It would be hard, you know. It could be easy, I suppose, to sort of get quite carried away with it, but he really seems to have his feet on the floor at the moment and be sort of quite grounded, and you could see that maturity in him. You know, I've said in the past, his off-field attitude is spot on. You know, he's in and around doing the jobs that people might not expect him to do, and he's he's very much the team attitude in the change room in particular I've seen. So yeah, long may it continue. I think we got there's two pairs of brothers on the bench on Friday night with the John boys and the Owen boys. So I think that's got to be a first time in history, surely in Cymru Premier. Anyway, onto your staff then. You've got a number of key staff members around you. Martin Lewis, Gareth Lewis, and Rhys Mansell, to name just a few. When you all take a step back, obviously, academy and development coaches have got a bit of it's a tricky job. It's a tough one because, yes, you want success as part of the team, winning cups and league titles and winning games. But for you then, ultimately, is success getting boys up to being established first teamers? Is that the primary goal?
I think so, yeah. I think, again, you mentioned Steve, but like years ago, we kind of have debates as coaches and stuff, and as academy staff, are kind of like, what is success? Because, again, being in development league for, like I said, 6 or 7 years before was some teams would go and win our league, but then those players don't play for their first team now, which obviously those players will have made fantastic memories and were excellent sides. But at what point, how do you classify success? So I think, for us, it's important that we try and develop, players to step into the first team and keep that pathway going. But while being competitive, and obviously I think it's coincided really that the last kind of 18 months that the development team in particular has obviously had really good kind of education with the likes of Steve and Dan prior. And yeah, it's just, coincided that we've got a really strong squad this year. We've built on it. We're bringing a couple of players in. But yeah, if we can get players into the first team, that's our main aim really. But if we can stay competitive and push, towards the top ends of the league and have a good cup run as well, that's important for us really. But I can take just about winning or losing on the weekend is if I can see that players are improving and I can see the bigger picture. But thankfully we've won a lot more games than we've drawn and lost this year.
Yeah, it's good habits, I suppose, to develop. Getting used to winning and competing for trophies and silverware and things is great. I remember when Steve came on, he did say a number of players that he'd managed to get in to have at least a couple of first team appearances. We'll have to update that and see over the last 10 to 15 years what that must be, because it's testament to all the great work that goes on in the academy, to be fair. And yeah, last season with Steve at the helm, one of the most successful seasons the development squad have probably ever had, to be fair, winning the league. But, you followed it up now, having won the league. You're currently top of the league. I know there's lots of games still to be played, and it's probably just as competitive as ever up here, with the teams around you and their points and that. But let's look at this weekend then. A mouth-watering FAW Youth semi-final on the horizon. How are you personally feeling ahead of the game, man? Is it one of the biggest games that you've been in charge of?
Yeah, probably. Certainly since my time at Haverfordwest, again, the years I've kind of spent in the development system, I haven't got this far in the cup before. It's just kind of, on a par with kind of, I guess, when the lads played TNS last season, the kind of the North-South playoff, really. We're just going to try and treat it like any other game, really. I think it's nice in a sense that we played Tuesday night because we could have easily have spent, the next 2 or 3 training sessions purely focusing on it, which I think would be wrong. So we can approach it just like any other Thursday night session that we'll have, and we'll train around the game that we're going to play on the Sunday. And we'll prepare properly. We've got videos on the opposition, so we've analysed that. We watch it back just like we do all the teams in our league. So it's a good challenge, and I think we're not going to put too much pressure on it because there is a bit of, we don't really rub shoulders with the North teams too often in the development system. So we watch game videos and stuff, but at the same time we can't know 100% exactly what we're going to get. So I think it's just most of the games we were going to, we make sure the boys try and get on the front foot and we take charge of things we can control. And I think it's that's the case of what's required for Sunday really. But everyone's excited about it. Definitely, it's a nice taster for the league. The boys kind of set some goals and expectations at the start, or objectives at the start of the season, and the cup runners on it. So me and Gareth are more than happy to try and guide them and support them towards it. We know what the bigger picture is for us as staff, but when the players have got goals and objectives which they've set themselves, not with me and Gareth, and then we'll work around them then to try and help them do that. And at the moment, sort of entering March, they're well on track to hit kind of all of them at the minute.
Fantastic. That's great to hear that. And Obviously, this will be going out on Thursday night. Will that be your last contact time on Thursday with the boys before Sunday?
More than likely, yeah. I think we'll get plenty done on Thursday, so we'll bit of analysis, then we'll train around it, and I think I'll leave them alone for 48 hours then, and enjoy the journey up to Aber on Sunday.
Fantastic. Well, your game kicks off at 4:30 on Sunday evening. I'm unable to come up and watch. I'm gutted. I was hoping to get up there, so I'll be glued to the Cymru Football app to see how it all unfolds. We're all rooting for you and the boys to go and get the job done. Carnarvon face Newport County in the other semi-final, also being played at Aber on Sunday. So hopefully by Sunday night we'll be on the right side of the results, and we'll know who the opponent hopefully will be in the final. That's a great way of doing it. I think more often than not they should do sort of cup semi-final double headers and things like that at the ground. So anyone who's available on Sunday, great opportunity to see some good football up in Park Avenue. Listen, Kev, it's been great to find out, your bit of a background and the future. I think we're in good hands. The development squad are in good hands. So thank you for the time to chat. Wishing you all the best for Sunday, obviously, you and your staff and the players, and for the rest of the season. I know it's not going to be easy, never is, but all best wishes sending you to get the job done. Fingers crossed we do, and we can have another chat perhaps before a potential cup final. Who knows? Hopefully a bit of silverware coming back to the meadow before the end of the season.
Yeah, we'll definitely try our best anyway.
No doubt. Thank you, Ket, and I'll be watching Cymru Football app like a hawk on Sunday.
Nice one. Yeah, cheers for having me on, right? Thank you.